No way, oh, for fuck's sake. Buffering right away. Here we go again. Right, I can see that the chat box moving. Obviously just my screen is going to keep buffering. So I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes here. Say hello to people in the chat and then I'll crack on. Hello David Marks, Terry Hayes, Hugo Boss, GT the Gamer. West Coast coming through clean, nice one. V Thomas, Steve HV. I seen that, Steve HV, I just seen that on my phone. The comments are all like Morse code. What is going on? So there's a Gavin Fly, Phil Jones, Joey P, Stuart Lundy, how you doing? Peter Cab, V Thomas, Matthew C4, Sky's the Limit, Paul E, One Man, he's Detector, John, Pat Mustard, Shotgun, Sus, Carol Shutt, Hugo Boss, Matthew C4, Dean Watt, Sammy Shaw, Gary Lee, Andy Crone, Shane Hewlett, Andy123, Bloody Sticker and Water, how do? Andrew Marshall, Flat Earth Female, Just Ask, Keith Anthony, Magumba, oh fuck's jumping, where am I? David Hinkle, Boris Chops, Mega Noob, Martin Haley, Phil Jones, Titarian, Witsa, Dominic Hawkins, Pico, FPV Angel, J-Lo, how yous all doing? Right, so as I was saying, we're people have to start somewhere. So you have to have an understanding of where we start. So we're investigating objective reality. Now what you have to understand is that under those circumstances, you the individual, you are the scientist. You have to be able to discern for yourself. You have to be able to, remove any beliefs and biases that you may have in order to investigate reality for what it actually is, and not starting from some preconceived presupposition and then going out into reality and trying to find things and cherry picking to make them fit your faulty view of what you think the world is. So if we start there, that's first and foremost. People really need to get that, understood, that's where we start. Too many people jump to, apathy and ignorance, where they will appeal to consensus and appeal to authority. That's cult-like mindsets, that's cult mentality. If you do not take responsibility and control of your own faculty, your own discernment, what you're then allowing is a system to start taking place, or institutions or representatives who profess to be a representative of you or some sort of authority in regards to some other topic, that being objective inquiry, and then they start offering you stories and narratives about what it is they've apparently discovered and claims they're making about the reality that the majority of people never investigate because they're too lazy. They're too caught up in their own narcissism, their own ego, chasing their delusions and their pipe dreams, trying to satisfy and self-gratify. Right? If you do not take responsibility for your own discernment and be honest with yourself, then you're going to have problems. Okay? You don't take a belief system like the majority of people that I interview and I speak to believe it's a globe. It's a belief because it came from authority. It's not a proper individual investigation. If they do not follow that process, I then ask them the question, what is the world? The reply will be, it's a sphere. I then ask to follow up and backtrack their reasoning process to see what it's rooted in. And when we get to that point, that's when we start to find that they don't have any real solid grounding of reason. What the fuck? Hello? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, mate. Cheers, bud. So, if you don't take responsibility, and again, you know, when I ask people when I go to their reasoning, it's not rooted in something that's, you know, of their knowing, of their experience. It's generally a consensus, hearsay, an appeal to authority. Authority said so. Consensus believes it to be so. Therefore, that's my reasons for stating that the Earth's a globe. That's no honesty. What we're looking at then is a religion. We're looking at a cult type mindset. And the education system and your culture and society as a whole is responsible for that. You, the individual, have to realise that you have been born into that situation. And if you want clarity and real understanding, you have to remove your biases. So once we can clear the path and we can get to that, then we can start to have a look at the claims that are being made. Firstly, we have to understand what we're actually talking about. When people talk about science, they just say science says this and science says that and blah blah blah. Science says 4.5 billion years ago Earth created from dust in a vacuum that was created 13.5 billion years ago by a singularity of infinite energies. That's no honesty. Right? We need to understand what science actually is. There's a huge difference in the divisions of science. That's why they're categorised as such. They're usually categorised as the natural sciences, formal sciences, and social sciences. Natural sciences deal with objective reality. The natural sciences deal with physicality, real substance, stuff. Okay? Physics, chemistry, biology. What things are made of, what the relationship is in regards to one substance and another substance, what the nature of the substance is, what its physicality is, how it behaves, and how it behaves and interacts with other substances. Those are the natural sciences. The formal sciences include things like mathematics. Now, people always confuse arithmetic and mathematics. Arithmetic is using numbers ascribed to denote stuff. So, one object. Oh, we'll call that two objects. 1, 2. The language we're using is ascribed to real stuff. So we can see, okay, now we've got 2 minus 1 leaves 1. It's a useful language because it's ascribed to real stuff. Then we have mathematics, which is abstract, conceptual. You can have applied mathematics, which is ascribed to real tangible stuff. When we talk about that in that regard and people are making claims, then there must be some form of applied mathematics that we can have a look at the practical reference, the stuff and its behaviour, and see if the language being described is accurate to the thing. But the majority of mathematics is formal, abstract, conceptual. The social sciences are like pseudosciences, the same as the mathematics. They're conceptual, they're subjective based. We'll talk about culture, subjectivity, philosophy, yada yada yada, logic. Okay? For this question, we're not interested in the formal or the social. We're only interested in the natural, that being physicality. What's your claim about the physical nature of reality or the substances therein? Where is your demonstration to support the claim you're making? So right there and then, we have to have a separation and clarity of what we're actually talking about. If you can understand that, then you can move forward. Then we can start to address the globular earth claims. Now, every single one of the globular earth claims comes into the realms of formal, conceptual, abstract. Okay? No quantifiable demonstration of physical substance. An example I'll give you. In the real world, we can have a look at natural substances. We can find water, an abundant substance everywhere. Okay? We can look at that substance, we can analyse its behaviour, we can then make predictions upon its behaviour, we can then utilise those predictions and an understanding that we can then apply to our real life. So in reality, we see that water always seeks the lowest potential energy state. It will flow down hills and valleys and inclines until it finds a point where it can no longer flow. It will then dam up when it's a standing body of water. The surface will form a horizontal plane, a level meaning equal in elevation at any given point. So if I start from this point and I move to any other point, it's in elevation with my starting point. Okay? To show you the flip side, when we invoke mathematics would redefine what I've just described as level as being a curve. Equal distance, draw a circle, put a dot in the centre of the circle, then draw a straight line to the outer edge of your circle. They will try and define level as when you move round that curve, that it's always the same distance from the centre of the circle. And that's their definition of level. That does not apply to the real world or any real world application whatsoever. Purely abstract, conceptual. Level in the real world and applied actual reality is no deviation in elevation from any starting point. Okay? So there's a simple example to show you the differences. Once we have that understanding of that substance, as I say, we can then apply it. We can then make tools. We can make predictions based upon it. We can utilise it to achieve what we call the world we live in today. All the structures we've created. Canals. Massive feats of engineering. So let's just have a wee pause there to regroup my thoughts to remember where I was at before we move forward. So anyway, as I say, and again what I want to point out is there is a difference between experimentation in regards to trying to find a cause and effect relationship of things. Okay, why is the trees moving about? Natural observation. Then we go about trying to find out the cause of that. Okay, that's a cause-effect relationship. We also have demonstration aspects where we can take one substance, we can display its behaviour or its interaction with another substance. Right? Different thing altogether, but they're still natural science. We're still dealing with substances. So, again, just to highlight and show you that is a real world phenomena of how that substance behaves. Okay? Its physicality is known. It does not support shear stress. I'm talking about water here. Does not support shear stress. It does not conform to the exterior of shapes and objects. That being that you don't fill a bath and put a mountain range at the bottom of your bath and you get a silhouette of the mountains on the top of the water surface. You can't bend your bath and make the water conform to the bend of the bath. Water will always collapse and find its lowest potential energetic state, a horizontal surface. That's a fact. It will take the shape of its container. And the surface will be a horizontal plane, equal in elevation at any given point from your starting point. The globular Earth will try and ignore that because it has an image. Now I've went away forward here. What I should have pointed out to you before is that what the globe does is starts from presuppositions. So it makes presuppositions and assumptions about things, and then it goes about trying to fudge and cherry pick things to make it fit its presupposed model. That's a religion, that's a bias, and it's no objective inquiry and investigation. Let me just see what's going on here. Right, so we've got the Zealots of the Globe cult mimicking people in the chat box. So I'm going to roll this smoke and have a wee deal with that before I move on. So this is what the Globe does. This is what it's done to people. It's used language to explain away reality and how things actually are in order to warp people's perceptions into a belief system that they live on something that is a total absurdity. And the majority of people believe it because they're presented with an image on the TV. I do not care what image is being presented to you on a TV or how fantastical that image is with wee spacemen and all this rubbish. What they're showing you does not align with actual reality. It contradicts it. Right, who am I looking for here? Martin Allen spoofing Hyde user. Right, where's the real beyond belief? Where are you? That's not the real Martin Allen that I've just hidden. Let me see, is that you? Right, that's the real beyond belief there. So where's the other one? People need to be aware of this as well, and always check accounts to see if it is the genuine person, because this is another tactic of this cult. Mimicking people's accounts. So, as I was saying, the globular earth is a concept, abstract mathematical gibberish. It started off as a navigation tool, okay, longitude and latitude, for only because there's distortions based on human vision and how we perceive the world. It was then extrapolated upon and pushed as that you lived on the exterior of an oblate spheroid. But you don't live on the exterior of an oblate spheroid. This is why if you go and you investigate and ask what's the best proofs that we live on a globe, what you're going to get as your top 5 is things in the sky. Now again, I have to highlight and point this to you. We're investigating the dimensions of the earth that we stand upon. If I want to look at the stars or find something out about the luminaries, the sun, the moon and the stars, I don't look down at the earth and say, oh well, that plant pot defines the stars, and start making gibberish up. So the very same thing applies. It's red herring, it's sophistry, it's fallacious reasoning. But it's got sophisticated language and conceptual models that bewilder and confuse people. So what they're basically offering you is look up there, so that we can establish the dimensions of down here. A total lunacy. But they'll say stuff like, well, how does sunsets work with the flat earth? When they ask that question, what they don't understand, or what some of them do understand, is that they're coming from a presupposed religious bias. Well, they presupposed and assumed, made assumptions, made up stories, in other words, about what the sun and the moon and these wandering stars are. What you have to ask is, how did they actually establish what they actually are? As soon as you ask that question, you will realise that they didn't. Because there are no three-dimensional objects that can be attained. You can't get to them in 3 dimensions to understand and quantify exactly what they are. And again, they do not define what the Earth's shape is. The Earth defines what its shape is. This is where we look. We investigate here. When you start looking up there and listening to these stories, it gets further and further removed from you as the individual and goes into private institutions who fire fireworks up and show you on a TV screen that they've got wee super beings out in the vacuum of space. Which brings me to my very next point. The claim is made to you that this rock that you live upon, that was created from a singularity, a wee dot, spewed out stuff into the void, the vacuum, a place of nothing, no pressure, nothing. Now all this gas and stuff and their nonsense came together to form and compact and compress to make like wee balls. Do you know, like when you pick snow up and you compact it and press it together? And ever since then, it's been evolving, spinning and gyrating through the vacuum of space, in sync with everything else like a big clock that all just happened by accident. But let's look at some of the basics of that claim, shall we? Because remember, I'm in the realms of actual physicality, natural science, proper investigation of the real world and the phenomena therein. So they're telling you that the earth and all its air, talking about pressurised air, gaseous environment, is spinning and going in all different motions at endless speeds through an infinite void, a vacuum, a place of no pressure. First and foremost, as human beings, what do we understand about vacuums? It's an impossibility to create a full 100% vacuum. It is an impossibility to have a place where no thing exists. There's no such thing as no thing. How do we even go about trying to create something that would resemble a vacuum? Well, we need to create some sort of container, some sort of sealed unit. And then we create lower pressure within it, and that's what we call a vacuum. So right there and then we go, okay, so a vacuum must have some sort of containment, right? We understand that. That's what we know in reality. That's real. No talk about stories here. Talk about what's actually real. What we can show each other. So we know to create a vacuum, a low pressure, we need a containment. Then we ask the question, well, how do we create a pressured environment, something with gas in it? Same again, we need some sort of container that can hold the gas. Because if we don't have a container, what happens to gas? It just dissipates and finds an equilibrium. So we understand that. Now we ask the question, how do we create a pressurised gaseous environment inside a vacuum so that we can have a vacuum surrounding a gas in a form that is an oblate spheroid? What do we find when we go to actual physicality? We find that that's total nonsense. An impossibility. Something that's not demonstrable, not practical in any way, shape or form. Because we all know, all our practical people who are supposedly stupid, that even when we have a slight hairline fracture of a sealed unit of a higher pressure, that higher pressure will push immediately and rush in to the area of lower pressure. So right there and then, we know lies are being told. An Earth with an atmosphere inside a vacuum, with no barrier between the Earth and the vacuum, is a lie, an absurdity, an insult. But then again, we've got people jumping to authority and what they see on their TV screen. Again, what I'm highlighting for you here is that these people are not involved in objective inquiry. They're part of a religious cult that has a belief system. That belief system stems from this military thing that we call the TV. Because the only place they've ever witnessed any of this stuff is on a TV screen. But they've got complicated language and authoritarian tones, and false confidence, and hubris, and pomposity. That doesn't make it true either. And I don't buy any of that shite. You better start producing practical references, or I'm going to think you're a liar. Or you're just stupid. So, we get the red herrings. Why is the Earth a globe? Circles in the sky. I live on a circle. Then we get other stories. A man 2,000 years ago put a stick in the ground here and a stick in the ground over there, and the shadows was different. Therefore, the Earth's curved. Again, what you have to understand is, before that's even done, if it really happened, there's an assumption being made about the sun, what it is and where it actually is, which, by the way, started off at 1 million miles away, and through the ages has ended up at 93 million miles away, because they have to keep fudging it to fit the presupposed model. The model they want to push, then they go out and they make observations and they fudge it to fit their model. So in the sticks stuff, Eratosthenes said so. Assumptions are being made. Let's ask the questions of the assumptions. Oh, that's right. You never established what the sun is and where it actually is. You made presuppositions and fudged them to fit your preconceived model. Anybody can try this. Go to the light bulb in your ceiling, put a stick on one side and a stick on the other, and put one directly underneath it. Note that the one directly underneath it has no shadow. The one to the left has a shadow, and the one to the right has a shadow, both going in opposite directions. Does that then mean that the floor of your living room is curved? No. But again, totally irrelevant, because what are we talking about the sun and shadows for when we're trying to establish the Earth's dimensions? When I can already establish it by understanding water, the substance, abundant, and its physicality and behaviours. But you've not measured it. We have measured it. We utilise it for everything. If we want to establish a level, the most accurate tool we have is water. I don't need to measure something that's self-evident. Water does not support shear stress, does not conform to the exterior of shapes. It collapses to the equilibrium, forming a level plane. That's where we start. Because myself, you and everybody else watching and everybody alive can demonstrate that. Then we jump to number one proof of the globular earth. Pictures from space. Well, hang on a minute. We've already debunked the claim of vacuum. Impossibility. Are we now then opening up a can of worms that an image presented on a TV screen is somehow measurable scientific proof of an affirmed claim? Because if that's the case, you're opening it up to all sorts. I could present anything on a TV screen and assert that it's proof of that thing's existence. And those people, based on their own reasoning, must accept what I'm presenting to them as being factually correct. So right now, I can show you Superman flying around the sphere Earth concept, making it spin in the opposite direction. By these people's reasoning and scientific fucking acumen, that's measurable scientific proof that not only is the Earth a sphere, but Superman's real. That's it. That's the best that they've got to offer you. Every facet of our being assumes a plane. Level plane. Every facet of our being. Your own direct experience. And remember this. It's everybody's direct experience that you stand upon a level earth. That's the starting point. The absurd claim is that it's a sphere, that from your feet it's curving downwards in every direction. And the antipode to you, there's a human being standing upside down to your point. Boats are going round curvy oceans and upside down to your, relative to your position, they're upside down. Then you ask the question, how is all that possible? The answer you're going to get is the magic word, gravity. This is now, again, where we start entering into the realms of utter stupidity, abstract, mathematical gibberish. What's gravity? Oh, it's a thing. It's a force, but it's not really a force. And what it does is it makes stuff go together. How does it do that? Well, it warps and bends space-time. What's space-time? Albert Einstein said so. They're talking about concepts, right? Because it's all disguise and shiting on the laws of motion. Motion is dictated by pressure. Something must press on something else. In gravity, notions, concepts and idea, they invoke it as a pulling force. Again, in reality, there is no such thing as a pulling force. Pull is not a mechanism to achieve motion. It's a descriptor of direction, i.e. bringing something towards you, you say, I pulled it towards me. Like opening a door inwards, you'll say, I pulled it. Look at the mechanics of what's happening. Your hand goes to the inside and applies pressure and pushes. Every aspect of anything being moved requires a force, that being a disturbance. Something presses on something else, exerts a force onto it and puts it into motion. But they needed a magic binding agent to try and fob people off with these absurd, idiotic notions of where you live. People will say, gravity. Alright, so dropping something defines the Earth's shape. Dropping something defines this gravity word that you keep using. What is the way in which objects fall got to do with establishing the shape of the Earth? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But they intertwine all this looking at the stars, red herring, magical gravity, all the gibberish to try and give you the perception that you live on something totally absurd. So when you ask these people for practical demonstrations of the claim they're making, we'll use water as an example. They'll say, I can't show you it because we're on Earth and Earth gets in the way. I need a planet. So here you can start to see the breakdown of the religion and the cult mindset. Right? Because if I said to you, unicorns ridden by leprechauns are true, and you asked me to show you these leprechauns riding unicorns, and I then said to you, well, I can't show you them because we're on Earth and it exists in some other place, some other reference frame that's not relevant to where we live, you would know there's an issue. Well, the very same thing applies. If something's real and true, it can be demonstrated. It doesn't matter that you're here on Earth. This is where we live. So when you're making claims about things on Earth, you demonstrate it. You show its behaviour. You don't say, I can't. I need to go to a removed reference frame that we don't have access to. You're talking gibberish. You're talking fantasy. That you need to go to an imaginary reference frame in order to demonstrate to me how water bends round the exterior objects. The other aspect of the gravity, warping and bending space-time. Space and time are no things. Space doesn't have a property. It's not a thing. You can't bend it and warp it because it's not a thing. Neither's time. They're just sophistry language, gibberish. This is why they elevated mathematicians into the public eye and made them idols. Albert Einstein, pure fucking clown. Utter fucking clown. Look at Albert Einstein, warping space-time and all that. That was done deliberately. Why were mathematicians raised above natural inquiry of physicality, the natural sciences? Conceptual abstract idiots do not further or advance your lives in any way, shape or form. Practical, real-world physics advance your life. So what people need to understand is you start from the foundation of your experience. What reality shows you. Your experience of reality is a level plane. Your internal gyroscope, the very geometry of your existence depends on the level. Because you know up, down, left, right and every other direction. All calibrated from the level line. You don't have that geometry without the level. So when somebody comes and tries to assert to you that you live in something contrary to your experience, that is a massive, grandiose, absurd claim that requires extremely specific and really good proof. If you investigate the globe properly, with honesty, you will realise that it doesn't even come close. It doesn't even come close to resembling some sort of justification to maintain a belief that you live on the exterior of an oblate spheroid. The only thing you're going to be left with is what you see on your TV screen. If you still believe that after what's just been stated, you're either very, very stupid or deliberately lying. Let me see here. Gav, you can jump in if you feel like it. Add to this if you want. So, it's very, very clear, and I have made it very, very clear over the years. It's not me that's crazy. It's not me that's denying reality. I accept my reality. I believed I lived on a globe. Then I investigated it with honesty. Once I'd done that, I could no longer maintain the belief. I was a cult member. I've removed my consent, my attention from that cult mantra thinking. It's detrimental to all human beings, the fact that they have been robbed of the psychological, emotional foundation, that being a proper grounding in where we actually are. This is why we have a world full of fucking corruption, devious, idiotic, psychopathic behaviour running amok, because people are in fear and anxiety and confusion, bewilderment. Nothing makes sense. There's no strand of chronology to your existence. It's all been severed. You've been told you live on this finite little fucking space rock, zipping through a vacuum with no way off, and everything's been discovered. So therefore, sit still, accept what the government tells you, and chase your delusions until you fucking die. And in that space, it's just filled with nothing meaningful, nothing grounding. And the culture, the cult, is offering you up all these stories and narratives of what it means to be a human being and what's expected of you, what you have to chase, what your dreams have to be, what you have to try and attain. And it means nothing. Gav.
How you doing, man?
How's it going?
Not bad, but wait, just before I speak to you, I need to put on my mask.
All right. Brilliant.
Brilliant. As I say, it's there's two things that have become apparent. Is just how mentally retarded people really are, right, and how ignorant and apathetic.
Yep.
To give away their, responsibility for their own lives to, total strangers telling yarns, telling stories, right? Mm. And the second thing is the amount of fear and panic that they know how to use, right? I mean, they know how to twig us, right? They know us better than we know ourselves, right?
Exactly.
So they're able to twing us with fear, basically, your safety.
Yeah.
And tell us more mental stories about, very similar to the ones we hear about space. In fact, it's the same narrative.
Exactly.
And they're pulling it off, as far as I'm concerned, also with the same tools, the same methods, right? The same, visibles, was it Robert Koch was famous, for example, for actually photographing, by finding ways of photographing bacteria, right?
Yeah.
And being able to see them move and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he done it using colour, using dyes and stains from what is now the pharmaceutical industry, right? From the people who made basically chemical dyes and stains, right? And together with photography, that was his visible proofsy of what was going on, right? So it's the same yarn, and then, you know, using this idea of being able to test for it, right, by being able to recognize certain patterns which set off certain colors in fluids or something, right?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be your testable, repeatable measurement of something, right? And it's not. I mean, it's the same sophistry as the outer space and the fantasy of the potato rock, you know, and bendy water.
Aye.
You know, it's just, you know, mathematical stories, as you've rightly pointed out, you know, or we have many a time. So,
but that's what it does. It removes responsibility from individuals. It creates this dichotomy of elitism and you. That you're nothing, you can't work anything out. The responsibility doesn't lie at your feet. It lies in the hands of these so-called experts that understand the gibberish. Now, it should be clear to anybody that that's a cult. Do you know what I mean? It's a master and servant type structure. And that's exactly all these stories, the coronavirus, the earth and space, and it's the same narrative all the time. You don't know, you're too small-minded and petty and too idiotic. We know it all and we'll tell you exactly what's going on.
Yep. Here's some sophistry to believe. Here's some stuff to distract and confuse you. And here's the story we want to tell you 24/7 on a visible screen. Yeah? You know, fucking just feed your eyes on this, people, you know?
Exactly.
And think whatever it is we want you to think. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
no, it's definitely a cult, you know, and people, you know, the fact that people don't snap out of it. And this one's actually very sneaky in a way, right? Because it's playing on that fear aspect more than the flat earth does. That, like, you know, everybody's kind of resigned to the fact that they're, you know, on a mindless ride through the universe, right? Spinning and tumbling, right? But with the safety thing, with the virus thing, you know, even sensible people are saying, well, you know what? I might as well not take any chances, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? Even they're falling into the trap when I want to shake them and say, no, fuck that. Let's just laugh at it. Stop it. Don't even entertain that wee bit, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's sneaky in a way because it's playing at people's fears.
It's very sneaky. As I keep saying to people, you ask people, you ever trusted the government as a government ever did your best interests at heart, and they say no. I say, well, what makes this any fucking different then? All of a sudden, knew what they've had a conscience, breakdown. Oh, we better start being honest, and now they're playing Big Daddy and roping everybody in and playing all these parts to give people the perception that there's a common enemy, which is invisible, by the way. That's like a wee morphing alien that's possessing everybody, and they're going to help us and protect us all from that. And it's fucking, honest to God, really baffling.
Baffling, yeah. It's amazing how they get away with it. But I mean, one of the ways they do get away with it is obviously with the education system.
Yeah.
As the four pillars of thought, ideology, like the legal system, the sciences, right, the medicine, and the social stuff, right? Yeah. Those are the ones that they basically impose on colleges of every university, which cascades down to the way we're supposed to understand these things, So, and it's all, again, they're all using the same tricks, words manipulation, right? You'll see that across the board. You'll see mathematics playing a role, trying to quantify social things, with models and statistics and probabilities, right? The visible world, where they'll stick in the geometry and try and quantify and play with that and tell you narratives, So it's the same tools of the trade and tricks that they use across the board, I mean, you see through one, you see through them all.
Exactly.
If you ask me, you just can't trust any of them.
Well, this is it, it comes back all the time to people being honest with themselves. What do you actually know? And if people start from there, they'll realise that they don't really know that much, especially when the things are being stated to them. And then they need to understand the process of establishing, well, what is being stated to me and how do you actually conclude that it's a fact? But people don't even enter that process. They're just operating from emotional impulse and just believing and cherry picking and buying into whatever it is their impulses feel they need to,
Being emotionally manipulated, chasing after superstars, or I saw one video. I think it was about betting who was going to be the first celebrity to kick the bucket, because they were all obviously lining up to get tested, And apparently, in any given circumstances, you'll find this pattern in anybody at any given time during the day, I mean, the statistics makes that possible. If I pick a handful of people that some of them will display this pattern of DNA protein,
Yeah.
So Yahoo. So what does it mean,
Exactly.
But they've already assumed that this infection theory allows these wee things to jump about and then be quantified at the end of the day. But that's where it's just a logical fallacy. It's a supposition at the beginning that they just, you can't just take that for granted, right? You have to question that.
Aye. I mean, it's that the absurdity of that, showing it like that. You think you're being possessed. It's basically possession. These fantasy stories of possession. There's a wee alien thing that's invisible, that's jumping from one person to another, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or some fucking thing. And that's what people imagine's happening.
And even if it's really tiny, Dale, if it just one wee bit of it gets into you, it can multiply and grow and reproduce itself like a cyborg or whatever, and then it can jump out your skin and attack other people. It's fucking brilliant. And then you've got the capability apparently of doing certain things, and making antibodies, making the antitoxin to it, which is where well, great, Brian, we've got a vaccine. Now we can go way down that route.
Yeah.
So it's
So it's a win-win for them. They get us on fear, get us in these draconian fucking control measures, and then the pharmaceutical companies make a fucking killing out of offering these potions, that's going to fix you and save you, and people don't have a fucking clue what's going on with any of this stuff. They're just partaking in it through their own ignorance,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I say the only time I trust a doctor if it was something mechanical,
Aye.
I think we've got a fair grasp of how the bones and the muscles and the sinews and that stuff works. But
exactly.
When they start talking about cells and then they lose me.
Yeah, they're dabbling. Dabbling, as I always say. I remember the movies when I was younger, and it was like the old cat would roll into town, and it was the fucking the sneak with the fucking potions wheeling out the stooge to act as if he was being miraculously healed by the potions, and everybody knew it. And you go, well, now it's established, every fucking street's got a pharmacy in it, and everybody's rushing to buy the potions for everything,
Yeah. Yeah, and the strange thing is that the sale of these potions depends very heavily on the idea that you bought into, right? So if you believe in a certain theory of medicine, right, then that's obviously where they get to sell their products, right? But the one that the Western world's caught in is exactly that. These two kind of concepts of bacteria that can jump and multiply and from one people to another.
Yeah.
And that's the one that they seem to make all the money. So they're definitely making a killing out of this. Somebody has to pay for it. Right?
Well, that's it. For me, it's not really about money, though. To be honest with you, I think there's loads of things at play here and loads of possibilities. And I've already stated the economic collapse type thing and moving into a different monetary system. I think that's pretty clear that's going on. As I said before, you can't stop the world for one day and not expect massive, catastrophe and repercussions for that. Never mind stopping the whole world for fucking 3 months at a time. You know what I mean?
Only Superman could do that. If he span fast enough.
Yeah, I can show you a video. It means it's true. I've seen it. Aye.
Again, I think it's the common sense things that that people can know for themselves still.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that my mum, cared for me, or cared for all of us, 4 kids, right? Through all of the so-called measles and pox and all the stuff you get. I'm sure we spat on her, we sniffed on her, we coughed on her, we probably pissed and shat all over her, right?
Aye.
And my mum was never, I don't know about your mum, but I suppose everybody's different, but my mum never had one sick day in her life,
I know that's the thing. We never stopped the world for chicken pox or measles or fucking or Ebola or any of these other things. The world never gets stopped for that.
No.
As I say, now very quickly you can see what they were really up to. As I say that earlier, I can't find the video, but News at 10 last night, they're showing you fucking drones following people about the Dartmoor or whatever it is, talking to them, telling them to go home, and all this. You're going, what the fuck? Is it all of a sudden now these wee alien things can jump from me to another person 10 miles away? I mean, what the fuck's going on?
I heard of a story where apparently the police pulled an 80-year-old woman off the golf course. Right? Like basically just let a manhandled her off there, you know. And I mean, one, it's absolutely disgusting. You know, why would anybody really think to, you know, be able to say anything to an 80-year-old woman? I'm pretty sure she can do with her life what she wants, right?
Exactly.
Without anybody interfering on a field, you know.
But that's the subtlety of the sophistry again. You know, you give these power-hungry morons an excuse. Now the excuse is like a pseudo fucking care, like, you know, their messiah complex, because it's for the good of you. I'm assaulting you for your own good, you know, because I've been fed this rhetoric, and they take it on board, and it feeds their fucking ego and their power trip, and they go about exerting it. And that's what I'm trying to say to people it was the same with the common law type thing, and even with this policing by consent, people really need to be cautious, because you're not dealing with balanced, rational individuals here. You're dealing with fucking morons acting on their ego impulse, you know, and now they're given fucking free rein. In their mind, they've got free rein because it's for the good of you and everybody else, so therefore we can exert this any way we like. People need to be careful of that, and it's a fucking dangerous game that they're allowing to happen, you know?
Absolutely, that's for the good people, you know. You can't just sit back and watch that happen, right?
No.
You can't just, you need to be able to talk to the people and spread it around still, and then, you know, that's what they're stopping happening, right? Because you're supposed to remain, so there's no even way to, you know, get down in a normal, natural level and speak to people, right?
No.
You know, they're cutting that off, so,
And they've got everybody applauding it. They've got everybody applauding it, and people demanding that the police huckle people over. I mean, what the fuck? It's the same as this. You know, they've been told to go to their window at 8 p.m. and applaud and clap. And everybody's doing it like fucking performance seals. What's going to happen if the government say, by the way, see anybody that speaks against it, lynch them? Are these very same people going to enact that just because the government fucking said so?
Yeah. Probably will. I think Goethe wrote about it apparently in Faust, you know, where he basically said the people applauded the doctor after he killed 10,000 people, you know, and he walked off ashamed, you know.
Incredible. Incredible.
See, in fact, he should be lynched, murdered, you know. Himself, you should kick these people. You need to stop these people. You need to stop it. Period. You know. And nobody realizes that it's exactly as you say, that, you know, cowboy western town with the guy selling the quacksilver, right? You know, it's the same. Today's no different. It's just big business now, and, you know, much glossier and fancier and subtle in a lot of ways. And the story's been built upon, you know. There's no longer fluid imbalance with toxins. It's now, you know, little viruses and all that other, you know, it's a whole new mental idea taken to a whole new scary level. You know what I mean?
And as a monetary incentive for people, it's the biggest industry, because people are in huge supply, and it's in these people's interests that we have ailments that they can then appeal to, because it's a never-ending cascade of profit for them, you know, because people keep reproducing, they can keep selling them these stories and then selling them these potions, and it's massive. It's in their interest to keep us in that cycle, you know.
Absolutely. I just hope people, you know, because this idea of keeping everybody contained in whatever, you know, bad air and different circumstances, that's not going to make people healthier either, you know. So I can only say people should keep their windows open and get some fresh air every day. You know? Just
the same as I was pointing out with the elderly. They're isolating elderly people away from stimulus, their family, their support networks, you know, getting fresh air, getting exercise, the stimulus that keeps them motivated and keeps them going. They're removing that, you know?
Right. Absolutely. It's criminal.
Aye. It's a fucking joke. And everybody's thinks it's for the good, and all this revelling in their fucking messiah complexes, that this is for the greater good, without ever reasoning with what they're actually partaking in. You know, you just offer them buzzwords and these mantras, and people fucking buy into it. You know, just ignore. Remember years before it was like, if you see milk bottles on the step, are you concerned about your elderly neighbour? Make sure they're okay. Now it's the fucking opposite. I'll leave them. Just ignore them and fucking leave them out to rot.
Yeah.
Fuck me, man. Right. So these people have got fucking blood on their hands, if they partake in all this shite.
They already have, I think, for centuries. This isn't anything new.
No.
It's just a different story and a different level, you know.
Aye.
And I see they've been screaming now for, you know, whatever one world governments, and I'm not sure that all that is necessarily the big aim of the game, or whether these are all just headlines to distract us still.
Okay.
And then there's something completely different on its way.
Aye.
Right?
The centralisation of power's been there. You know, we can see that in things like the Antarctic Treaty. I mean, if anybody thinks that all these governments are operating as fucking independent from each other and no collaborating with each other, then they're a fucking moron, you know? So
Absolutely.
they always look to centralise things, you know, if it's you know, splintered and thing we do it, then they will centralise it, but in regards to governments, they're already centralised, you know?
That's true.
But
Sorry, I'm distracted here.
that's alright.
Oh, look, Glenn's pinging me. I'll post the link onto Glenn,
Aye.
See if he doesn't want to come in for a chat.
Aye, we'll do that. I'm gonna bash one of these fucking zealots at the end, so.
Just to keep your hand in there.
Aye. Well, they're running about fucking making all sorts of ridiculous claims, and you know, it's the usual proverbial chessboard and the pigeon shitting on it and thinking it's achieved something, you know?
Well, that's all they've got, because they've got no real arguments. All they can do is cheat.
Yep.
That's what they say, an error to begin with, and then turns into a fraud that turns into a deceit, and then a criminal enterprise.
Aye.
That seems to be par for the course, you know.
Exactly.
And that's even giving them some, you know. Like, I'm assuming innocence in that. Right enough.
Aye, you can see your halo.
The drones. Right enough. I haven't even heard that yet.
What's
The
that?
drones. You get your own personal virus drone, is it? Your virus control drone.
What a joke. Yeah,
Do you still believe in the flat earth? No. Give them the virus.
Aye, I know. I'm waiting for that next. That'll be the next thing. Oh, one of the symptoms of coronavirus is believing that the Earth's not a sphere. These people are the main carriers. Something must be done.
Well, I mean, as you said, this thing is, if we start policing ourselves, which, you know, we are very likely to do, and are already doing it, the only thing you can really do against that is ridicule it, laugh about it, and completely ignore it, you know, as far as I'm concerned, right? Because trying to argue with people who still say, well, I might as well not chance it, are the same people that, you know, are also the ones that you can easily turn into a policeman or into somebody with power, or, you know, do you know what I mean? Right. These are the people that will willingly then step up to catch the loony who still needs to be injected.
Exactly.
You know? I mean, I can, you know. So, yeah, that is a little bit more worrying, but as you say, a lot more interesting and funny as well, you know.
Aye.
I'm just ripping the piss out of them. I'm just going to be going,
aye, exactly.
And then holding my hand out saying hello, you know.
You know, jump into Asda and take a coffin fit and watch the fucking place empty. You know?
Yeah.
Glenn, how you doing, mate?
Hey, how you going, boys?
How's it going?
All right. Boys, that sounds good.
Good evening there, isn't it?
Good old man. We're fine, old man.
Good to see you again, Del.
Ah, you too, mate. How you been?
Good. I see you keeping up the good fight.
Aye, making a noise.
They were definitely messing with you earlier.
Yeah.
When I first started trying to watch you, it was just on off, on off, on off, on off.
Yeah.
That sort of thing can't have been organic. It must have been somebody doing something.
Yeah. It's always the same, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
I've not even went back, I've not had a chance to look at it to see if that was coming across in the, once it had processed. I'll need to have a wee look at it to see if it's like that, when it's playing. I'm not sure.
No, it's not.
No, is it
It's
smooth?
not. Yeah, I already had a look at it, and it plays through normally. Goes for about 13 minutes.
Cool. Cool.
It just shows that speaking the truth is a bit difficult, or they're going to make it difficult, more and more difficult.
Well, fuck them. As I say, it's not my fault. It's not my fault they want to tell fucking lies and push their wee agendas. That's not my fucking problem. I'm not expected to go along with it. I'm not part of their wee cliquey groups,
No, well, we're getting the same thing here. You're getting these muppets with uniforms on, standing up and making threats.
Yeah.
It's getting a bit outrageous, really. I just watched a bit of stuff from, what's his name, Bill Gates, and he's sort of talking about a timeline that's, 2 or 3 months long, talking about how they're going to watch the numbers exponentially increase. It's what you were talking about before. It's numbers, it's mathematical, it's just a concept.
Yeah.
And the way that Gav points out, it's mentals. It's just this whole concept of taking away from real demonstration and putting in front of us this mental idea of what could possibly happen under certain circumstances, and claiming that is what is actually happening.
Yeah. And that's it. And people are being fed it through the screen, same as everything else. Their perceptions are being warped and implanted through a fucking military-created device known as the TV. And this is their sole, avenue of experiencing the world through the screen. Fucking ridiculous. And they're not even making it hard. I mean, their contradictions are so glaringly obvious. As I say, I don't know about where you are, Glenn, but they come on here, Boris Johnson telling people, he was on this morning with Philip Schofield stating that it's not going to affect everybody, we're only concerned about a small minority. Then from that, it just cascaded into lockdown for every fucker. And to the point now where you're not allowed to go for a walk. I mean, in the space of 3 weeks.
It doesn't make any sense. It's totally illogical.
Yeah.
To go from a situation where, like you say, they're saying that it's only a very small minority of people that are going to actually be affected. Even when you look at the numbers that they're putting up, I think a couple of days ago it was 162,000 people tested in Australia. Of those 162,000, 2,500 were found to have the disease, and 14 had died. Mm-hmm. And yet we're going to shut down the whole country.
I know.
We're going to lock people up in houses. Yeah. I think Gav was alluding to it earlier about this whole concept of locking everybody in their houses is a way of making people ill.
Yeah.
If you're going to have people that are emotionally upset, locked in their homes where they're not getting fresh air, they're not outside exercising, they're not doing things that would normally keep themselves healthy, and you're putting them into a situation where these things that you can get a mild flu like symptom.
Yeah.
You can get. I don't even like using the term flu.
But as far as I'm aware, your body's producing these things anyway. So there's going to be a percentage of people walking about in that state already, and it's happening because of the change of the environment. If you go abroad, you get these types of symptoms. If you go from spring, winter into spring, you get it. If you go from autumn into winter, people are getting it. When the atmosphere or the environment's changing, these things are happening. So
there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever that that's the situation, and that's what the battle has been. Since day one, since germ theory started being debated, that's what the debate is about. It's one group of people, one group of doctors and scientists have said, no, it's about your internal milieu. It's about what's going on inside everybody's body.
Yeah.
And it's the way that the body deals with changes in environment versus this concept of like you say, tiny little weirdo aliens jumping from body to body.
Yeah.
I mean, here they've set it up now that people are not accepting cash. Some of the shops and some of the service stations and stuff like that are not accepting cash.
Yeah.
Well, has anybody gone out and actually tested cash to see if there's anything on it?
No.
No way.
But this is the rhetoric here is that they started coming out with idiotic statements about different substances and how long it lives on these different substances. You're going, oh, that's fucking well worked out. Where's the demonstrations of all that? Let me see all these materials and let me see the wee bug being put on it and showing us how long it fucking lives on it for. They're just fucking making it up as they go. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's out of control. It really is just fairy story after fairy story.
But that one about the cash is obviously because of the removal of cash. If they want this monetary system that's cashless and credit based, then it's a perfect way to start utilising that, because people are, as I said before, are already using their mobile phones with barcodes on them, or these chip and pin things. They're already, 3/4 of the way there. This will just push them into it. They'll probably start making statements like, oh, this pandemic was really kicked off by the money because it was being spread by money, or some fucking shite, just as the big excuse. I can see it, can predict it.
It wouldn't surprise me. I went into a service station and got some fuel yesterday or the day before, and when I pulled out the cash to pay for it and handed the cash, and she said, she pointed to this little notice and said that from April the 4th we won't be accepting cash. And the other lady said, it's not that we won't be accepting it, is that we prefer FPOS.
Because it's actually illegal for them to fucking knock back that,
Exactly.
So, but if I go to anywhere and I've got cash and I put fuel in my car and they refuse to take that note, well, I can just walk away and say, well, I tried to give it, so I'm not stealing, Yeah,
I actually heard a bit of a discussion about that in the last couple of days, where they were saying, if there's a notice there, if you've been told before the transaction occurs that cash won't be accepted, that they can get away with that.
Yeah.
If you do the transaction and then they say that they won't accept cash, they have to.
Yeah.
I haven't checked that out. I have no idea whether that's the truth or not.
That reminds me of another point, Glenn. Sorry, just to interject it, that Marty brought up. Marty brought up was really valid, because you know this thing that they're calling self-isolation. Well, there's something there I think people really need to have a wee concern about, because if you look at the wording of that, see these people that are in an employment thing, right, and they take it upon themselves to self-isolate. These people are making that decision, therefore they're going to get statutory sick pay. What people really need to wait today is they're demanded by the employer that they go home, because then they can have that in record that it wasn't their decision. Therefore, they're entitled to that 80% of their pay. But if they make it off their own back, saying I'm going to self-isolate, then they need a sick note, and they're making that decision off their own back, which then states that they'll only get statutory sick pay. So they're fucking sneaky bastards with the use of the language,
They're trying to tie you into a moral obligation, by making you feel bad and, manipulate emotions, right? That's the first stage of it.
But when it comes down to it, Gav, that's their get-out clause. Well, you decided to self-isolate. You made that decision. I never told you to go home. So you're only getting statutory sick pay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you say it all the time. You bought the product. It's your choice, You just need to make them, either, get that, what should I say, commitment from them. In some way or another, emotionally manipulating them.
Yeah. Aye. So, see, total fucking lunacy, and everybody's jumping in as usual. Okay, but as I say, I'm just like you, Gav. I just laugh and go, whatever. But it does annoy me, because it's starting to infringe on me a wee bit. I don't want to buy into all that fucking crap, but now they're threatening to. As I say, I put a comment under that, the Greater Manchester Police, whatever, that YouTube video, asking them to clarify. So you're policing by consent. But if I don't give you my consent and I'm isolated away from people, are you telling me that you're going to enforce yourself upon me, which is an unlawful act? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be stopping people making common sense decisions in their own life, right? And for their own destinies or whatever, right? So, that's a no-go area. Especially if they're obviously taking precautions not to do anybody any harm anyway, by being out on their own somewhere and, whatever. But that can't possibly be.
That's the state of this society and this structure that we live in. That an individual can't decide for himself what course of action to take in regards to their own health. I mean, get to fuck if that's not encroaching and oppressing you and stepping over the mark. I don't know what is.
Well, that can't be taken away from you. It can't be lent. It should be inalienable, as
exactly.
They say.
Pointing guns at you. I'm going to. Sorry.
They can't even claim that it's not a threat now, because here they're actually threatening us with a fine, and I'm really worried about how they come to the amount of the fine. The fine for breaking the social distancing rule is $1,613. Why? I mean, that's for the individual. $9,000 something for a business.
How are they? This is the absurdity. People are knowing their jobs and they're struggling for money. How are they going to pay the fucking fine?
Yeah, exactly. And they're calling them on the spot fines too.
But this is because it's legislation. It's no common law. So this is the only approach they've got. They show you these examples and it's subtle that people think that they're going to be arrested if they don't comply, but they're stating it in their use of wordage. We could fine you,
Yeah.
Because
I'm not even sure it's legislated.
No, it's no. But
same thing.
But
this is a mathematical, two-dimensional spherical object. You can choose to believe that it's a three-dimensional physical ball in a vacuum spinning. Believe us, all we're telling you is that this is a two-dimensional mathematical object we can manipulate in geometry. Right. If the people are too stupid to buy it, and again, I know the cards are stacked against us because they've got all the money and all the power and all the education systems controlled and the media and all that, but still people, they still have to take an active choice. There's no such thing as this idea of hanging on the fence, right?
No, but that's it.
You only get active powers, right?
Well, that's it, Gav. The biggest sway they've got is not the money and the power. The biggest sway they've got is the consensus of the fucking stupid. That's what they've got. And if the fucking stupid snapped out of it, no money or any of that stuff would ever, put them back under. That's all it takes. The fucking stupid, willfully ignorant to snap out of their wee delusion. Because that's where the power is.
And they all have it in them because, I've been there. I snapped out of it. So, works with anybody. Because we're all built of the same stuff,
Actually, I was thinking about the term mentally retarded. That used to be an insult that you'd sort of feel a bit guilty about using. But now I think it describes perfectly what's going on. The general populace is mentally retarded.
Come on.
I agree with
you. That's the horrible thing. I agree with you all too. It's just...
Yeah, well, I mean, it is. It's the education system has retarded the mentality of the general populace.
Yep.
The general populace does not know how to think critically.
Yep.
It doesn't know how to stop and think for a minute and look at the absurdity of what they're being told.
Yep.
I mean, it goes with the flat earth as well as with this situation. I think it goes with anything you can think about, just about any aspect of modern life.
Aye.
You can look at what we're told, you can look at what the truth is, you can see really easily the absurdity of what you're being told.
It's the Stock.
They go on with it.
It's the Stockholm syndrome. That the traumatised people from a young age into authority, into fear of repercussions if they don't behave and toe the line by authoritative figures, and that trauma is carried on right through into adulthood. And as I say, you're seeing it right now. Authority said so, scared you with some repercussion, and everybody just fucking jumps in line. Huh? Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're sort of. It's like the general public is saying, yeah, well, I know my government is mean and nasty and cruel and doing horrible things to me, but it has to.
I know. Oh, but no, this time they're looking out for us. No. You stop being cynical now, Glenn. That's terrible. The government loves you.
Yeah, I feel it, Gav. I mean, I feel it, Del. I really feel that love.
It's like a fucking one of these farmers that says, "Oh, I love my cows," as he's fucking holding them into the fucking slaughterhouse truck to take them away to be fucking carved. I love them.
Yeah. Strange. I mean, it's a Chinese. I've been told it's an old Chinese curse that you live in interesting times.
Yeah.
We're definitely living in interesting times.
Curse, indeed, is it? Did you say?
What's that?
Did you say a curse? A Chinese curse?
Yeah, Chinese curse is may you live in interesting times.
Okay, interesting choice or definition.
Don't mention China. They're the enemy. They're public enemy number. I don't know. Have you noticed that? I noticed it here. I don't know if about any of you lot or wherever you are, but just about every single Chinese restaurant and takeaway is closed, whereas all the Indian takeaways, kebab shops, all these types of places, they're all open, but all the Chinese places are shut. It's not going to be long.
Here they're all shut. Here the government has basically put out an order. Well, I don't even know if it's an order. I said to my employer, what are you closing down for? Just because you heard on the news that you're supposed to.
Aye.
I said, have you actually received a document that says you are ordered to close your business?
No.
You're just listening to what you've heard on television and you're saying, we've been told we've got to shut down.
That's how subtle. That's how subtle they are with their NLP. As I say, they give these impressions. As you say, there's no document. There's nothing being passed through court systems. There's nothing real. But all this suggestion is there and people are acting off their own back. So again, the government can just go, well, we never demanded you to do anything. We never demanded that you do any of these things. You just done them off your own back. So therefore, it's your own fault. You know?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. How long is it going to be before Chinese people are starting to be lynched in the fucking street? Because I can see the mentality of the gullible here as well. It's your fault, Chinaman, your fault that we're in lockdown. I mean, so fucking predictable.
Look, I was just talking to Gav about it. We had a situation here where in the news they had stories about a couple of real estate organisations here getting their workers to go around and buy up medical supplies, and they filled a couple of container load of shipping containers with medical supplies and sent them to China, sneakily doing it. And it's all done, the story's told as look at what these Chinese people are doing. They're sneakily buying up our medical supplies that we need to fight the virus, and they're sneakily shipping them back to China. I mean, you can see that it's a setup.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is that, right? They're doing the same stuff they always did.
Right. I'm just going to.
They really have.
Sorry, I'm just going to nick to the toilet. Back a minute.
I know that. Again, they really are just creating a kind of this mental object to chase that turns for them into, pharmaceutical drugs and therapies and treatments that they can sell to people, right? Whether it's from testing all the way through to, take a Quicksilver every evening, I mean, and the people would believe it, and applaud. The rest would applaud as the doctor left the room.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what is going on. It's like we were talking about with the cash, saying that there's a germ on the cash. So why aren't we able to just why can't we just use our hand cleaner and spray the money and hand it over?
Yeah. Wash it down.
In a few shops where they are accepting cash, they're wearing gloves. They've been told to wear gloves. Have you been out in the situation at the moment where if you go into a store, you get corralled and once you're in the corral, there's only 2 people allowed in the corral at a particular time. And I went in the other day, I wanted to look at a lawnmower, and I've gone into the corral, and I've looked at the bloke over behind the counter, and I said, "What do I do now?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I want to go and have a look at that mower over there." And he said, "Well, you can." I said, "No, I can't, I'm corralled." And he said, "No, just go under the barrier." I said, "Oh, so I can just go under this barrier?" And he said, "Yeah." So I said, "Okay." And he said, "If you need any help, just give us a yell." He said, "I can't come over there, but I'll yell to you with the information." So I've gone over and had a look. I had a few questions. So we had this yelling match backwards and forwards, asking, what sort of this, what sort of that, oh, that's this is that. Had the conversation like that. And then I walked back. Well, actually, previously, before I did that, when he first told me that's what I had to do, I actually threw my hands up in the air and said, "Fuck this," and walked out. And then when I got back out, I thought, "Oh, damn, I do want to find out about this thing." So I went back and got put through the hoops. But it's insanity. It's absolute insanity. I can't, even people that I know to be intelligent, clear-thinking people in under most circumstances are saying, "Yeah, well, I know what you're saying." I think, yeah, but, I just don't want to take any chances.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the ones I want to shake.
Yeah.
And I think you need to get right in their face, it's the same thing, it's the fuck you attitude, it's the finger that they give us, you need to give it right back to them,
Yeah.
Because if you just accept it,
And don't all these guys look the same? The guys they put forward as figureheads. And the thing I've noticed too is where they've got the Prime Minister or the President or whatever it is of the nation standing up in front of cameras doing some sort of press conference, instead of having generals and other people in uniform beside him, nodding in agreement, you've got this funny-looking little wizened old doctor.
The general medical officer, the chief general medical officer.
Whoever's in charge of the health department. And you can see he's the one that's pulling the strings.
Yeah. Does that count as military? I don't know. Military medicine, if you're a general medical.
Well,
I don't know.
That's one of the things they're saying on the, when you listen to the news here, that the police are working with a military planner. So, and that's another observation I've had here recently. There's very little police presence at all anywhere. In fact, pretty much none. No traffic police, I've not seen any of them, and I've seen the odd cop car here and there, but very little. So
they're not allowed out, they might spread the coronavirus.
Aye. Great time to rob a bank. Not that I'm encouraging anybody to partake in any of that, but
Exactly.
I just gave you the idea there, Gar.
I'm just thinking what the best opportunity could be. As long as the speed cameras will still be working, and you can still walk to the cash machine. They won't stop that, I don't think, right? When the cash machine gets switched off, then they'll be worried. But as long as they've got all the wee people going the chickens to the cash machine, pressing their code in, and then picking out their grains or food out there. When that stops, then we need to worry.
Exactly. But they're talking about the food supplies being okay, and reassuring everybody of that, which makes me suspicious because they always seem to do that, And then.
So tell me.
Sorry, you said you got to say?
I was just going to actually inquire as to the weather. Have you got nice blue skies and
no
any change whatsoever?
Well, we started off this morning a bit of sunshine and then fucking cloud as usual. But up until this morning, it's just been that total whiteout. Fucking constant white and grey. Nothing. But with a bit of sun this morning and then a bit later on in the day. But that's about it.
We've had a great week. Blue skies, sun getting high in the sky, start to burn a hole in your arse,
Get it up, you.
If you laid it. I bet also a really, really cold wind, so it's supposed to snow tomorrow, so exactly these kind of changing conditions that, might leave a weak body, a little bit,
Exactly.
how should I say?
Yeah.
Stress.
And coupled with that, they're already anxious and scared anyway. So that's bringing your immunity down.
Mental stress.
And as you say, if the fluctuation in temperatures like that all the time, then they're going to get, something, sniffles, a cold, And then that'll be it. Oh, I've got coronavirus, and everybody loves to be fucking a victim. So I'm taking bets. I can predict the ones that are going to get it first. Oh, I've got coronavirus on Facebook. I've got coronavirus. Look at all the likes I've got. Oh.
Look at me. Yeah.
Aye.
I'll take a shot. I'll take the first shot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, aye. People playing.
Madness.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll go with nature any day of the week other than the man-made madness of any kind was.
I always say that. People up until 100 years ago, before all this, this modern medicine shit kicked in, how the fuck did we survive? I mean, they would have you thinking that fucking, we're down to, being extinct before they came up with their potions,
The amount of things that should already have killed us.
Actually, one of the things I noticed was how similar a lot of the footage is to old footage from around the 1918 Spanish flu virus. You see old black and white images of people being loaded into old ambulances and warehouses full of beds.
Yeah.
But one of the big differences you see in the Spanish flu one is all the beds are really close together. And you see the images of the warehouses that they've got beds in at the moment. They've got the beds are all 2 or 3 metres apart.
Still nobody there though in the pictures, right?
Well, actually, the ones in 1918 there were people in the beds.
Yeah.
There's no people in the beds.
Yeah. See.
Listen, guys, I'm a bit tired, so I'm going to just log off.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thanks for the chat, Dale. Glenn, see you
Anytime.
soon. Huh? Cheers,
No
boys.
worries.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, boys.
I'll pop off too. Good to talk to you again, Dale.
Cheers, Glenn. Take it easy, mate.
Yeah, you too.
What are we saying here? I know Bill. There's Bill. He's messaging me saying about he's in Florida and it's the retirement state, talking about people who are isolated and isolating themselves, and aye, it's total insanity, Bill. Total insanity. Where am I here? So I've been looking a wee bit about, I spoke about these, oh fuck, I'm still sharing. These lampposts and what's going on with these and the capacitors that are in them and magnetic waves. It took me back to my questions about, vinyl and the stylus and how it actually works. But I'll probably just leave that for during the week, because I want to talk about some of that, and obviously the Crookes radiometer, and have a wee look at some of the physics or what people imagine is going on with some of these things. But the stylus, well, an old record player is really interesting. A lot of people talk about modern ones with the magnet and the coils, and that's what's generating the signal. But the older things are talking about ceramics creating an electrical pulse. So I need to get into that and have a wee look at it. But it's interesting stuff. But anyway, let's have a look. We're going to bash this clown. I've spoke about one of these clowns before. This was the guy who was apparently a flat earther and then done a U-turn because conspiracy cats had a word with him. Remember that whole phase of these people professing they were going to save everybody and that they had scientific proofs for the globe. So I think we'll bash him because he deserves it. His nose has taken a fair bashing, in the past. So a few more jabs to the snib's not going to hurt him. But He's one of these guys that runs about calling people like us criminals and criminal minds when it's idiots like him. Remember, this is the type of guy who professed he was confused and he doesn't know anything and he doesn't understand anything. But all of a sudden, he through his lack of understanding, he can assert that the Earth's a globe and call everybody else criminals because they don't want to believe it in his abstract conceptual bullshit. So, he done a wee video called My 6 Favourite Flat Earthers to Destroy. Because that's right, because over the 5 years I've been here, how many have we had that have came and destroyed me? That's right. None. Zero. Zilch. Because I tell you why, you can't destroy the truth. Reality doesn't care about your YouTube, shitting in the chessboard, pigeon games or any of that stuff. People like you, seek truth, speak bullshit, don't have anything. You, son, are the criminal. You're the devious, manipulative little liar. And I'm going to keep outing people like you because you're running about tinterwebs, poisoning people's minds and perceptions with your vile, bile and fucking nonsense. You don't have a clue what you're talking about. You don't understand anything. You keep coming out with mantras and gibberish about the Earth's a globe. Hello, people. You're an irrelevant wee pipsqueak. I'm going to make an example out of you. I'm going to continue. We've had all your best conspiracy cats, fight the fat tits, and all these morons. They've all been spanked. Remember your Messiah conspiracy cats when he came here? People will not know this. Conspiracy cats came to my platform a few years ago. Was absolutely obliterated and then played porn on the channel. Got the video taken down and had me banned from streaming for 3 months. Now they're running about professing they're saving people. And I've been asking them to come and save me. But I just keep getting excuses. Excuse. They keep asking me to go to debate platforms. I'm sick of telling them. This is again showing their utter stupidity. Objective reality is singular. It's not an idea or a concept to be won or lost by rhetorical gibberish. You don't argue to win a perception of what reality is. If you're professing that you're an honest, intellectual inquirer of objectivity, you know that it's not a debate. So you just offer up your demonstrations of the claims that you're making, the assertions that you're making, and then we have a look at it. No argument. None of that. It's people like this boy that induce that bite, that hatred. Because he's a lying little piece of shit. Misrepresenting people like me continually. Same as his fucking baldy counterpart. Another lying child abuser. Spewing rhetorical gibberish at people. Sophistry. Twisting reality. Trying to pass it off as real. When it's just language-based nonsense. So, he done a wee list. And guess who was at number 1? That's right, yours truly. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians. This moron.
Speak truth, speak truth, speak truth.
Doesn't know his ear hole from his arsehole. Remember this guy?
What bollocks. I don't know why I'm worried about swearing there. He is just from Deltard, actually. So I will read
Where we get to it?
geometry nonsense. Will not answer question. I don't know. He's just keeping this up now.
I think this is all about me. I think the majority of the video is about yours truly.
He knows we live on a sphere. Objective reality, everything over and over again, or it's nothing again.
Just bear with
Which I
me.
do find amusing. Because, I'll give it to him. Because, we have Deltard.
Number 1, I'm Deltard.
And, like I said, it was tough between these two. But I think they'll, because, you know, I'll give it to him. He does come on my channel and berate me a little bit, which I do find amusing.
That's right, son, because I'm not going to shy away from anybody. Right? I'm here, always have been, had the open platform before any of you dipshits arrived on the scene. Been offering it there every Saturday, every time I'm live. You have the opportunity to come in and add whatever it is you think you have. But you're a wee scared pigeon that runs about shiting on an invisible chessboard that you created, right? And run about like you're championing something while professing it Earth's a globe and you're going to save everybody from charlatans and criminals like me. So I said before, the only charlatan and criminal is you, son. I want to trust you as far as baldy cats can throw you.
He offers nothing again, the same argument over and over again.
I offer nothing. This is it's all empty statements here. There's absolutely nothing going to come from this guy. I just offer the same one argument. No, I've offered up loads. I've absolutely obliterated every aspect of globular earth claims. You know it, every globe cult zealot knows it, which is why none of ye have ever had the spine to come with any honesty and sit in front of me or meet me in person, which has been offered to you numerous times. So you can keep stating all this stuff. You're just a liar, and everybody knows you're a liar, regardless of how many spammed bots you've got, faceless potatoes in your wee comment section that's favoured by YouTube, because we all know you're a wee lick spittle sellout, son. I highlighted that with your conspiracy cats, gibberish, inconsistent lies from one point to the other. Incoherent, inconsistent, hypocritical, contradictory nonsense.
Oh, it's subjective reality.
So he's trying to influence people by laughing at statements like it's about objective reality. Why is that funny? It's an investigation into the nature of our shared objective world. It's not funny. You need to ridicule it though, because you need to keep people in the realms of debating concepts and language-based nonsense. Because you don't have anything practical, nothing demonstrable. All you have is gibberish.
Everything he twists, I don't know whether he knows.
It's just empty statements. Everything he twists. There's nothing in that. It's just an empty statement. Nothing in it at all.
This is wrong. I think he knows we live on a sphere, but
this is him trying to be sincere. I think he lives in a sphere. This is him, again, subtly trying to portray me as some sort of liar. Right? But the problem is that he's got is that I don't monetise. Never will. So they don't have that tool. So get it right up, you stupid ass. What would I want to lie for? I'll tell you what, objective reality is no telling lies. It's telling the truth. You're a liar.
I don't know. He's just keeping this up now because he will not answer questions that confirm our...
I will not answer questions that confirm he's about to say our spheroid earth. I've answered every point that's ever been made about your globular earth fantasy. Right? Every aspect of it. You, sonny boy, ignore points. You don't answer questions because you're making the affirmed statement that it's a globe, which is contrary to my experience. It's a massive, absurd claim, contrary to everything I experience. So the burden is on you, wee sacks, which is why you don't come near here.
A spherical earth, and he just keeps going on about all this geometry nonsense.
Again, geometry's nonsense apparently. He doesn't even understand what the word geometry means. Earth measurement. That's right, we use Euclidean plane geometric principles in every facet of our being. But he thinks that's ridiculous. He thinks that's ridiculous because it doesn't work on curved surfaces, and he needs to ridicule it and ignore it and hand-wave dismiss it because it's detrimental to his wee faulty worldview that he doesn't even believe. He knows fine well it's not a globe. This guy here is a liar, an active, deliberate deceiver. He knows fine well that the Earth's not a globe.
And it is just absolute swab bollocks.
That's right, Euclidean geometry, swab wallocks, whatever the fuck that means. What a complete and utter roaster this boy is. He's got to be the most stupid, globe earther we've ever encountered. But he's dangerous because his stupidity is filled with gusto and false confidence. And he's willing to abuse vulnerable minds, spewing his fucking gibberish at them.
I don't know why I'm worried about swearing there, but he is just ridiculous. I've got some of my favourite comments from Deltard actually, so I will read you a few of those out. They do always amuse me. He just comes and goes like a wet fart though.
That's right, I come and go whenever I please, and you will fucking dance to my tune whenever I decide, right? Remember that. Remember the situation here. I am the master, you are the beggar. You need to dance to whenever I decide you are going to dance, son. I pick and choose, no you. You're obligated to spew your lies because of whatever you've been up to in your life, sonny boy. Hopefully somebody will uncover that. Because that snib's been bashed that many fucking times because you're a wee bit of a troublemaker, son. Ain't you?
He'll just walk in, you know, like an ape going, make one comment, I comment back, and he just runs back to his shed, tail between his legs.
No, I come in, flick you, and then stand back and watch you dance like a wee fucking acting monkey, because that's what you are. Now you're going to dance some more for me, son boy. You will dance until I tell you no to dance. I don't care if your feet are bleeding. You will keep dancing until your feet fall off.
And then he might do a random comment on the next video. He might not. So yeah, this is Dell from Beyond the Imaginary Curve.
Whatever. Let's just get to the comment section, shall we? I laughed out loud when I watched Dell using a hosepipe to squirt water in a ball while asking why doesn't water stick to you. It's a display. It was a satirical display of a substance and pointing out the absurdity of why people believe it behaves in absurd ways. Because that's a claim. The claim is that bodies of water can be contained on the exterior of shapes while displaying that shape upon the surface of the body of water, which is total fucking lunacy. He failed to realise the gravity of the gigantic ball he's standing on. So here they just make these statements. Gravity, gigantic ball, suppositions, assumptions that they can't even back up or any of that stuff. Right? He still hasn't figured out it's the same reason the ball he's squirting water on falls downward when he drops it. If it was due to density, as pretty much all FEers say, no me. Again here they have to misrepresent me. Because they know I don't make that statement. Because I've pointed out the absurdity of their gravity. Gibberish. Right, as I ask here, define this gravity. I will be live later reading these comments. You have time to offer up something coherent. What do we get? You've already done it on STST. It sounds like some sex disease, doesn't it? STST. Fuck knows what he's been shagging. Can't be very good though. You responded by running away. See the following screenshots. Let's see. No, still waiting to be saved by you and the other baldy tit. Come on, world hero saviour. All you have to do is convince me it's a globe. I reckon you know you have fuck all, and the only thing you can do is try character assassinate. Wait until I start on you lot. You can't compete with sacks. I suggest you continue failing in music. At least you're a bit better at that. A failure, but still better. So I'm looking for this bit where this guy's destroyed me or something. I don't see that. Can anybody else see it? I don't see it. This is what they do. They just make these statements and then post things thinking that people will never track them or follow them up. There's nothing there. Nothing. I look forwards to your minions doing your dirty work for you. I don't have minions. I'm only me. They've got to project who they are. Wait till I see what's going on here. What a clown. This speak truth under an account 011001 sending me porn pictures. What a fucking clown. Anyhow. I can't really fucking bother with them, to be honest with you now. They're going on about gravity and geodetic surveying and all this fucking rubbish. Geodetic surveying is not a fucking direct measurement of an earth curve. Plane surveying is done over fucking hundreds of kilometres. There's no curve. You can't apply planar principles to curved surfaces. Everything would be off. Nothing would work. So I can't really be fucking bothered, to be honest with you. I'll just make him dance whenever I feel like it. Yeah, but the options here, I'll check my emails. I bet you there's no request for anyone to join. But yet they're professing that people like me run away. How do they even work that out? Who are they actually talking to? That they think's going to believe that shite? You know, they talk about gravity, they've been asked to define gravity. And they avoid it because they know what I'm asking. They don't have any, you know, physical interaction between objects that would denote a pulling force because it doesn't exist. So therefore, gravity doesn't exist as a pulling force. It's this clown constantly fucking just messaging L. They're demented. These people are demented. This seeks truth, speak truth. It just keeps spamming me with L. Oh, Call me if you want. Can we call? Hope that's you. Seek truth, and the rest of your wee clowns. Call me. Hurry up. Come on, I'm here to bash you. So you might as well come in for your bashing. Nothing. Simon Dan's another one. Simon Dan's another clown. I'm going to make just specific videos on each of them. Oh, there we go. Yes. Funny. There you go, people, again, there's your globe cult. Nothing to offer. I've still not had a response under that GM police asking them to clarify. Nothing. No, speak truth. I don't want to wrestle you with oil and all that, your fantasy. I just want you to stop making rubbish up and spewing it on tinterwebs and start backing up your claims. Start stepping up to the mark instead of acting like a spineless wee chicken. Let me see here. She's going on about fighting and wanting me to fight and debate and blah 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 blah. So I've made the point to him, it's not a fight, son. You can either demonstrate your claims or you cannot. Your pal never tore anything apart. You're just a confused, manipulative liar. You are a dangerous criminal mind and need to be outed, and I'm the very man. Keep dancing and making excuses. Reality is not a competition to be won or lost. Step up, shitebag. I've been here with an open platform before anyone. Everyone is welcome to join the discussion and bring clarity. You are a cult zealot, a lying little creepy snake, which is what he is. His response, I can literally show you a photo of globe Earth. What have you got? That's the level of boys like Seek Truth, Speak Truth, a minion, an understudy of conspiracy cats, the scientist with the whiteboard. That's his response. He's got a picture on the TV screen of a cartoon. Anyway, it's just utter stupidity. I say, son, you will dance whenever I decide you're going to dance. So will the rest of you, because you're liars. And that's it. If you had something, you would have brought it here. I'm an honest man. If you can bring me some reference, some practical reference of reality that shows that it's a globe, bring it. I don't have a horse in the race. I know you are desperate that I'll represent some straw man model of a flat earth. But I don't. So, you need to stop trying that. You are the ones that are responsible for your claim. It's not my fault. It's not my fault you believe in an absurdity. If you want me to accept your absurd nonsense, start providing proof, demonstrations of your claims that you don't have. And I know you don't have them. I'm just trolling you, calling you out, watching you shite yourself and make excuses up. The reason I know you don't have it is because I'm honest. I tried to convince myself it was a globe and I failed miserably. Because once you realise fallacious reasoning and lies and misrepresentations passed off as science, and you see that and you can see it clear, you can't maintain a belief in a globe. You have to be at a whole new level of stupid and ignorant to properly investigate the globular earth claims and come out the other side still believing it's a globe. But I think Seek Truth, Speak Shite has got some history that he's been roped in because he looks like a wee deviant. That's why his nose is plastered all over his face, because he's been smashed that many times, taking second prizes left, right and centre. That he's just a wee bitch, and he's a wee bitch running about YouTubes telling lies. So bring it all. Conspiracy cats, Simon Dan, Fight the Fat Tits, Wolfie, Prickface, all the best that you've got, every single one of you will come and fall at my feet. As you have done before, and will continue to do, because I ain't going anywhere. I love just fucking, I love it. Fucking love it. That wee attempt to try and play that music, I guarantee you, when I switch this off, there'll be some copyright thing. Right? That's their wee tactics. Not only is John Smith, Globely, Harry McDonald running about trying to get me copyright striked and videos removed, I've got these Globe cult fucking zealots at it as well. So we've got snakes on both sides of the false dichotomy. Snakes on both sides. Have they removed it? Selling alien. I've not refreshed that. They might have just ghosted me. So you can't see
One
it.
of the fundamental principles of political...
Hold on to a screen share here and show you. Look, I can see it. still there, but this is what they do, they ghost you. So that I can still see my comment, but nobody else will see it. So is that true? You can't see it at all? Has anybody else checked? And that's it, Martin Allen. Who on Greater Manchester Police YouTube site would be doing that? It's a simple question. What's the problem? Nah, no comments, Santosh. The baggy hoop song's still there. I'm going to be, I'm going to shout that out the next time I go live, because you know we've got people here that are suffering now. You know, like Steve Thorne, a musician, makes great music. Made some of the music for the wee videos here on this platform, and Des Sherwood as well, another musician who offers up lessons and stuff. These people are suffering because they don't have any income now. So, you know, I don't ask for funds on this channel, but in this situation that we're in right now, and again, I'm willing to shout out anybody who's in need or anybody who needs that, and encourage people to go and buy their music. You know, both Des and Steve Thorne make quality music, and it's related to these topics. So stop buying the mainstream pish and start supporting these artists, because they deserve that, and now in this time of need, they're suffering. So I want to do as much as I can to help people out. As I say, I'm not just picking them out. If there's anybody that makes me aware of how I can possibly help them, just by shouting out and encouraging people to check their stuff out, you need to let me know that. Because that's what I'm here for. That's what the platform is there for. So see, the next one I go live, I'll highlight they two specifically, and I'll put links directly into the chat box and encourage you to please support them. So I say, anybody that ever wanted to offer me something, donation wise or whatever, just put it towards them. Buy their albums, download it. Level Earth Observer, I know Adam is great as well. I say, next time I'm live, we'll have a wee shout out for all these people, and subscribe to them and give them that bit of support. Cheers, She Get Helicopters, so you're not seeing it either. Right, next time I'm live, anybody that's got anything like that they want put out there, just show up and I'll shout it out. We'll put the links into the chat box. So I say, I wanted to do a bit more globe bashing, but other things are happening. It doesn't matter, we've got time, we can bash the globe anytime we like. It's too easy. I actually feel as if I'm taking liberties sometimes. Hey ho, they deserve it. Absurdities deserve to be ridiculed. So anyway, cheers people, I'll see you very very soon. Take care.